Choosing the right executor or successor trustee is oftentimes a difficult decision for people, and it can be a little tricky. So something you'd need to know is what that person would do. And I get this question a lot. What your successor trustee will need to do is they would step in if you became incapacitated or pass away, and they would then manage your financial affairs and your legal affairs. They would have access to all the assets within your trust, and they would be making decisions about how those assets would be invested, how those assets would be spent for your benefit if you're alive. Once you pass away, your successor trustee is the person who has responsibility to follow the instructions in your trust. They have to follow those instructions to the letter, and if they don't, then they would be able to be sued by your beneficiaries. So it is a job that requires a high level of trust, and it's called a fiduciary role, which means that if they make a mistake, they could be sued. So choosing a trustee can be hard because you have to choose someone who not only that you trust, but who would be able to do this job oftentimes under pressure. Possibly it could be if you were incapacitated, they have to, they're dealing with the emotions, possibly grieving, and they're dealing with some of the family issues that may come up with their siblings or other family members. So it is a difficult job to be a trustee, and they have to be organized. They have to be somebody who would be able to deal well under pressure. They also are a person who has to deal with the banks or your financial advisors, with your CPA, and make sure that they're having conversations about making sure there's enough money, making sure that they are paying the bills, making sure that they are investing it correctly. And that if anything needs to be sold, if there's real estate that needs to be sold, they would be hiring the real estate agent. And so there's a lot of it really is a job that has a lot of responsibility, and it's oftentimes at a time when your trustee is going through a lot emotionally and having to deal with the family. Another thing to consider when choosing your successor trustee is the person willing and able to take on the job? Sometimes people tell me that their child would be great at the job. They're trustworthy and they're organized. They'd be able to make decisions under pressure, but maybe they have a lot of responsibility in their own life with their job or their small children, and maybe they live far away, and it might just be too much for them to be able to really take on that job and do it well under the circumstances. So that's something to consider, is would your successor trustee be able to actually do the job, and would they be willing to be able to do the job? Whoever you end up choosing, you will want to make sure you have alternates. And that's a question that I get a lot, about how many alternates, and you can have as many alternates as you want to have. It's better to make sure that you have somebody in that role who would be able to act. If you've named somebody and the time comes and they are not able or willing at that point, they can always resign, or they can decline to do the job, and then it would go to the next person that you have listed in your lineup of successor trustees. So it would go to the next alternate. If that person's not available or not able, then it would go to the next alternate. So it's important that we have enough alternates so that there's always somebody that you trust who would be able to step in on your behalf.